I work mostly with real estate agents and other people in relationship type businesses, and there's a lot of blame going around right now. Blame for why their businesses aren't where they want them to be, why they don't have the clients they want to have, and so on and so forth. They blame it on the market. They blame it on other people in the industry that are jerks, or they don't have integrity, or they're swindlers, or they're not getting what they need from someone in the higher ups, whether it's again from their brokerage or from whatever services. Blame, 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 blame. And the problem with blame is, as Brene Brown describes it, it's counterintuitive to accountability. I don't think counterintuitive is the right word, but it is the opposite of. So if you are looking at your situation and you don't like where it is, and you're like, oh, well, my business isn't doing well because, and you start pointing fingers, you will not be able to actually fix the situation because you are doing the opposite of holding yourself accountable. So I am a certified high performance coach. I'm going through certification right now as of time of recording. And I could blame Brendan Burchard for why my business may not be where I want it to be. Now, my business is great. I'm happy. But if it wasn't, I could say, well, I'm a CHPC certified high performance coach, and so is he. And he's got millions of dollars, and he's got all this money that he's using to advertise to bring people into the coaching program, which is actually based on the same thing that I run mine on, which is the high performance program. And I could say, well, I can't compete against that. So clearly that's the reason my business isn't doing very well, which is absolute hogwash. My business does well because I do stuff for my business. There's a lot of people who will start something new, look around and like, oh, look at everyone else. They're so much further ahead than me. There's not enough business for me. They tell themselves this horrible story, and then they get absolutely nowhere, but they then point fingers at all the things that they thought of at the beginning as to why they wouldn't be successful. And then they just sit there doing nothing because they don't take responsibility, and they're not accountable to themselves. Ergo, they go nowhere, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The thoughts and the emotions that go through your mind and your body about yourself, about your business, about your future, about the market, about relationships or whatever, develop into a belief system, and that is through which we see the world. So if you're constantly telling yourself, it's not my fault, I'm not successful, or I'm not where I want to be, but it's not my fault, that is not productive, nor is it scientific, nor is it true. If you don't like where you are, there's one singular thing you need to do, is to do something about it. Talked to someone this morning, and she said to me, what are some of the things you say to keep yourself motivated so that you don't fall back on blame or lethargy or despair or just, feeling stressed out? There's two things I say, and this really keeps me away from the blame game. One is, I'll figure it out. The responsibility is on me. I will figure this out. That doesn't mean I have the answer. That doesn't mean there won't be some things I test before I get to the answer. But come hell or high water, I will figure this out. And the second thing I say, which dampens my stress when I'm looking at tricky situations, is everything is going to be okay. So I'll figure it out, and everything is going to be okay. And everything's going to be okay because I'm going to figure it out. They are two things that actually go together. So if you find yourself trying to say, well, I am where I am, but it's not my fault, I want you to take a breath. And I want you to identify the pain and the discomfort that you are actually feeling. And ask yourself, if you do not want to be in that pain or discomfort, what can you do about it? Can you talk to someone? Can you research something? Can you try something new? Can you get out of bed earlier? Can you go to bed a little earlier? Drink a little bit less? Eat a little bit better? Right? There's always something you can do. Always, in every situation. But blame, again, is not scientific, nor is it helpful, nor is it true. And we can do this. I'll leave you with one little last story on how, and the reflex for blame is instantaneous. When I was buying our income properties about an hour north of here, we had our first tenants. I'd never had tenants before. I was very nervous about them. It was an older couple. They wanted to rent it for the winter. I thought it was great. So the morning of, there was still lots of things that needed to get done, right? So they were coming at 10, 9:30, Mark walks through and he says, I'm going to have a shower. I looked at the boxes and things that still needed to get put away, and I freaked on him. And I'm like, "How can you take a shower and got all this?" Da, da, da. And he just stood there in the most patient way my husband knows how, because it's not this my first rodeo that I've done this to him, but it was my last. I will say that. And he calmly looked at me, waited for me to stop talking, and then went and had his shower. So I, swearing under my breath, and I got it all done, everything put away. The tenants come, they love it, they sign, and away we go. I then opened the book, I believe it was Daring Greatly from Brene Brown, and she talked about the shame blame game. And in that moment, I felt my shame, because what I realized was my insecurity about, did I have enough put together for this condo so that these people would find it, up to snuff, like of a good caliber? Would they like me? I had not given myself enough time. I had had one extra glass of wine the night before. I watched one extra episode. I think it was Game of Thrones the night before. None of those things should have been done if I was worried about putting stuff away for the next day. I slept in that day a little bit longer than necessary. And so I had created a situation for myself. I had told myself stories about how they weren't going to like me, that I don't know how to put a condo together that people can rent. I'm going to be missing something glaringly obvious and it's going to look stupid. And then I've got all these other things, and I'm mad at myself for, having the extra glass of wine and not taking the time the night before so that I could be prepared, blah, blah, blah. All my shame comes up and out it goes all over my husband. My discomfort and pain were what came out of me. And in the car later on that day, I'm like, so, hey, I did a thing, which he very much recalled. And I explained, where that came from, and that will be the last time it happens. The reflex is still there. Something will happen, and my instinct is to find it's somebody else's fault. But if you can, just for a second, when that instinct hits you, breathe 3 times. What it will do is, before you actually go and act on that, even if, again, it's hard to control the impulse, but you can control your action. So again, you can't control the impulse where you're going to want to blame somebody else. This is neurological. It's older than dirt in our heads. Okay, so you can't stop the impulse. But with a couple of deep breaths, you can stop the action. And you can say, is it really their fault? Am I just kind of mad at myself for breaking that dish, for not being ready, for, maybe not doing that follow-up, whatever it is. And just kind of go, okay, could have done something about it. What can I do? And just move on with your day. Please make sure that if you are in a blame situation, that you take a minute and you kind of go, is it really someone else's fault? Or is there something I can be doing about it? Or is there something I could have done about it? Make a course correction and move on.